I have been wearing the Whoop 4.0 and the Whoop 5.0 MG for the past week. Today I'm going to share the entire data, what we can see on the apps, as well as comparing it to my Aura Ring, because I'm wearing that too. How the data is actually different in terms of recovery, sleep, and strain. We're going to go through all the things that I've kind of realized so far. This is my second channel. Subscribe if you want to see more. We do have a free month link down below. I'll have a bigger review on the main channel coming very soon. Let's get into it. So as you can see, I have a little over 2 weeks on the new Whoop MG, and then this is the Whoop 4.0. I didn't upgrade my old one device yet. I did purchase this off Amazon. If you do want to get it quickly, Amazon's the best place to go. If you want to get a free month, go to join.whoop.com/Shervin. And as you can see, we had yellow and then 2 red days on the 5.0, and then yellow, 4 green days on the 4.0, and only 2 green days on the MGs. So what I'm really curious about is like how different was it? Recovery, 72% on the same day versus 48%. Sleep, 91-88. Strain, 10 versus 12 on Sunday, the May 18th. Let's go to the 15th. It was still calibrating, so that's why it doesn't show a color, but 38%, 29%, 84, 81, 18, 17. So it seems to be off by 1-ish a little bit. Let's go to the 21st, 49%, 74%, 10.7, 81, which is so interesting. Like, my recovery was drastically different. Even if I tap in, you see heart rate variability. 4.0 was 39. On the MG, 27. I did wear these on my wrist on the first few days, and then I switched over from wrist to now biceps. So they're right next to each other on my biceps for the last, 5 days. So they should be relatively close. Similar tightness, similar part of my arm. They should be getting the same amount of data. One downside to wearing on your bicep is you can't get blood pressure, and you are missing some settings. So that's just not ideal that you actually want to wear it on your wrist to get the full experience of Whoop MG. Resting heart rate, pretty much the same. Respiratory rate, very close. Sleep performance is where things start to change. Even looking at the weekly trends, like I always say, look at the trends, not the actual recovery scores. Like the trends are even slightly different. There is a peak. There is some similarities, but still, I'm like a bit confused. Like, how do I follow this graph? Same thing with heart rate variability. Here it dropped down even further, but here it spiked. So now I'm like, do we trust the data? I don't know. Do we even trust the trends at this point, which scares me a little bit. Resting heart rate, okay, that did well. The relatively trends were similar. Respiratory rate, trends somewhat similar. Sleep performance, the trends are similar, so that's good. If we tap in here, you can see, all right, a few percentage points off, so it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be close enough. Now, if we go to today, which is May 23rd, I did have 53% versus 61. My sleeps were exactly the same, so that's good to see. Oh, hours versus need. This is going to be different because the strains were different. 69% on consistency, 93%, 95. High sleep stress is 0%, so that's good. But in terms of sleep stages and total sleep time, how different were they? 618 versus 617, if you really dive into the details here. 1053 versus 1053, spot on. Total hours of sleep different by 9 minutes. Light sleep, about 4-minute difference. Deep sleep, about a 2-minute difference. And a REM sleep, about a 3-minute difference. So pretty close. I would say that's really good. It's not perfect, but it's very good. Hours versus needed, that was drastically different, just probably due to the strain calculations being different. The trends and sleep consistency are close, so that's good to see. Trend is your friend. Look at the trends, not the specific numbers and data points. That's kind of my biggest philosophy, and we can see right here. That's good enough to trust. Weekly trends again here, looks decent. Hours versus need. Okay, there's some differences here, but overall trends relatively close if you just look at it quickly. Restorative sleep, so interesting here, 7 minutes, 10-minute differences, almost an 18-minute difference on the 22nd. So there are going to be more drastic changes on sleep stages. Time in bed, pretty close. Sleep efficiency, as you can see, one had a drop here, whereas this one did not have as big of a drop. And sleep depth seems to be consistent. Sleep stress, somewhat consistent. Now, why are the strains so different? So let's hop into those real quick. 11.9, 7.5. Heart rate zones is showing what heart rate zones I'm in, the steps. So we're getting 9,600 on the Whoop 4.0, which is still in beta. And then the MG is getting 9,000 steps, so about 600 steps off. I did yoga this morning. This is from an automatic detection, whereas this is from Apple Health using my Apple Watch in terms of the start and end times. I don't know why this still hasn't gotten my Apple Health data, so it's not backed up yet. But the full review will have that information, so subscribe to my main channel for that. Weekly trends of strain. They are close, but they can look 5.7 versus 4.5 on the 19th, 14.4 yesterday versus 16.1 today. So some days the MG is lower and the 4.0 is higher. Then other days the 4.0 is lower and the MG is higher. That is not something I'd like to see. It is around 2, but this is where, once again, I don't look at these higher level things. I typically try to look at the overall trends of sleep consistency, overall trend of HRV, and overall trend of sleep start and end times. Other than that, you don't really need the other things in my opinion, unless you're really trying to fine tune, but looking at this, take it all with a grain of salt. Heart rate zones. More heart rate zones. Steps. Oh, beta steps versus the full-on out of beta steps. Almost a 2,000 difference on the 20th. So the overall trends in terms of steps are close, but they might be off by 1 to 2,000, which if you're really trying to hit your 10,000 steps, like on this day, if I was wearing the MG, I'm going to walk another 10,000 steps. But if I'm wearing the 4.0, I'm just going to do 400 more steps. So that's where exact numbers, take it with a grain of salt. Look at the trend. If you're close enough, you might have already hit 10,000 steps. Calories burned. Even these are slightly off. We hit 3,100 on the 22nd, 2,975 on the 22nd. So about 200 calories almost, 150, 175 off. But then there are days that are very close, like the 20th was 2,858 versus 2,877. Now a big difference to look at is in terms of how many days have I been wearing this Whoop? How calibrated is it to my body? Obviously this is 10 days versus almost 2,000 days. So that data might be different. It looks like my HRV and resting heart rate ranges are pretty much similar, even though one only has 10 data points and the other one has over 1,900. Another thing to look at is height and weight. I put 6 feet on both, but then one is 206 because I just took a new weight scale today, updated from Apple Health, whereas the MG has 203. So that most likely might impact strain scores. So that's one thing to take into account. Activity detection is on for both. The heart rate zones. This is what's going to impact the strain score. So as you can see, it's drastically different. One is showing 194, the other one's 184. So that's going to be a big difference. That means my strain score should be lower on the 4.0 and the MG should be much higher because I can probably go to a higher max heart rate. Resting heart rate slightly different, but not a 10 heart rate difference. I don't know how they actually picked this. It's based on your age and automate updates over time. You can adjust as needed. So maybe because I have more data, this is a different max heart rate. We can see our heart rate zones. 134, 140 for zone 1. Zone 2 is showing a max of 147 on the MG and 154 on the 4.0. So this is where you probably want to get a test. As you can even see, 10 days of data versus 1,900 days of data on the 4.0. You're going to get different max heart rates, different heart rate zones, and that's going to impact your strain. If you want to get really high strains, just lower your max heart rate. It is cheating, but it works. But that just shows you that you need to double check these. Based on how the algorithm selects a couple of these variables, that decides a lot of the information that you get in terms of activity, strain, and all those types of numbers. Now, if you don't believe me that I'm wearing both of these, you can see the heart rates on the 4.0 is at 84 right now, and the MG is at 71. This is live, streaming from both these heart rate straps. So it is kind of, oh, now they're back together. It is a bit surprising to see that they were slightly off. I can't get health span data until I log 10 more sleeps on the MG. The 4.0 will show me health monitor, but the thing that a lot of people have been disliking about the new app is here it says, hey, you need to be on life and peak, and you need to activate with the 5.0 or life on MG to be able to see health span. Blood pressure is beta, it requires the MG, as well as health screener. So every time I come to this tab, I'm kind of getting ads for these. Like, I can't use them, and it's a bit frustrating to be like, you have to pay more to get this. Like, we don't turn on our MacBook and it says, or your iPhone, and when you go to the camera mode, if you're on the smaller iPhone, you're like, oh, there's only a 3x zoom, and you need to pay for the iPhone 16 Pro Max to get the 5x zoom. Like, we don't see that on iPhone in the camera app, so why do we see that on the Whoop? And I thought that was pretty interesting. That does make sense, right? Well, maybe, like, why can't I hit this to go away? I don't want to see it every time I load the app. Give me an X button. Like, now, every time I open Whoop, I have to realize that I'm poor and I couldn't afford the better features. We don't want that. You can see the health monitor scores were relatively close, 96, 98, 30, 32, -1, -0.5, 59 resting heart rate. You know, they're all relatively close, but they're not exactly the same. The stress monitor, half an hour on the 4.0 and almost 1 hour on the 5.0. The overall trends seem to be similar, but the actual calculations of how much stress I had were going to be slightly different, and that could be based on the max heart rate being drastically different on the two apps. So if you want, maybe I'll go update these so you can see, does it get closer if they're the same? The MG right here has AFib that has not been detected. I can take an ECG, but I do need to wear this on my wrist to be able to do that. The bicep band does not have the ridges to be able to place your fingers on it. Now let's look at one specific workout, which is running. If I tap on running here, you'll be able to see the heart rate differences. The 4.0 is getting me 6,900 steps. The MG is giving me 7,466 steps. The overall trend in the beginning of the heart rate was close, but then something happened here with the 4.0 where it started to jump all over the place. The MG stayed somewhat consistent, spiked up, and then back down. You can even see, because the zone calculations are different, you're going to get different times in each. And I just need to update my max heart rate. You can see the run, the GPS data is pulled from my Apple Watch, and that's why they're exactly the same. So it's getting distance pacing data from my Apple Watch. The calories burned are slightly different, average heart rate. The duration should be exactly the same. But it's a bit shocking to see how different that 4.0 heart rate graph is. Now, if you are watching this video, know that I have a Whoop team down below. You can join our Whoop team. Add members here. You want to go to Whoop and say, hey, enter team invite code. This is our team invite code. You can hop in, chat, ask questions. I think people bring up a lot of questions about the Whoop 5.0. I'll use this in my main review, and you can compete with everyone else to see where you stand. We do have over 2,000 people, and everyone's pretty active. We're at 2123. So let's keep expanding that. Join the Shervin Shares Whoop team. And follow me on all the socials at Shervin Shares, Instagram, X, TikTok, to get more short form content as well. Now, I want to compare the steps with the Oura Ring as well. As you can see, 9,600, 9,000, but the Oura Ring has 10,800. What's funny is I actually take my Oura Ring off more often, whereas the Whoop I keep constantly on. So it's already guessing over 1,000 more. If we go back a day, 19,000, 200 off, 2,000 off, 10,900, about 1,000 off, 29,000 versus 23,000, 19 versus 18,000, 11,000, versus 14 and 12,000. Saturday, 16,000 versus 18,000, 16,000. So it's like you might get 1,000 up to 3,000 steps different on each of these wearables. Now the big comparison I'll do is readiness / recovery scores. So we got 53%, 61, 79, and then 85, 59, 49. So even if you look at the overall trends, there was a spike here on Monday, Tuesday. Same thing, Monday, Tuesday had higher scores. Monday, Tuesday had the highest scores. So relatively speaking, Sunday, and then here, Saturday was an 86, whereas Saturday was 56 and 48. So relatively overall, they're somewhat close, but still, they're not perfect. And lastly, heart rate variability. We peaked here at 43 and 37, whereas the Oura Ring was 42. You can see there is a small peak right there, and then evens out. Same thing with these two graphs. There's a peak. This one had a second spike, whereas the next one just kind of evened out over here. Data's not perfect, but these are kind of what the Whoop 4.0 versus the Whoop MG, as well as the Oura Ring look like. Remember to join.whoop.com/Shervin to get your first month free if you do plan to buy one, or I have a whole bunch of Oura Ring, other Whoop videos. I'd love to test wearables. I wear the Apple Watch as well. My name is Shervin Shares. Subscribe, turn notifications. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.